webinar. My name is Dr. Hannah Torres. I'm the director for UNM's Faculty Research Development Office. And our office, for those of you who aren't familiar, aims to expand and diversify UNM's research capabilities through activities and programs that create a competitive advantage for extramural funding. And one of the ways that we do this is through our programming. And we've had this research success series in collaboration with Advance for many years now, I would say. And so today we're going to be talking about UNM's Category 3 research centers and institutes. I'm just going to give a brief introduction to Category 3 centers, what they are, what they do, and a wide overview. And then you're going to hear from 7 of our research center directors or representatives to learn more about their centers, resources available, how you might be able to engage with these centers. And then hopefully we'll have plenty of time at the end for questions and discussion. Just to set us up with some housekeeping, after each of the lightning talks, there will be time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. However, I would strongly encourage you to continue asking questions in the chat throughout. And there will also be time at the end for discussion, so you can just write down questions on a piece of paper in front of you and hold them for the end. So I mentioned the overall Advanced Research Success series of workshops that we do. And we've had a themed group of workshops lately because of the federal funding uncertainty focused on diversifying your research funding and diversifying the ways that you can support the work that you're doing, even when federal funding is somewhat uncertain. And so what we've been focusing on this semester in particular is leveraging what you've got. And one of the things that we've all got here at UNM is our fantastic Category 3 research centers and institutes who do amazing work. And so just what is a Category 3 research center institute at UNM? These are UNM's strategic hubs for innovation. So these are places that foster interdisciplinary and high impact research. They focus on real world impact. Many of them do tackle critical issues that are particularly relevant to our surrounding communities here in UNM, here in New Mexico, but also the impacts of this research can be much further reaching. And these are also a catalyst for collaboration. They're intended to really spur diverse team collaboration and bring together faculty, students, sometimes industry partners and community stakeholders to really drive practical solutions to complex problems that can't be tackled from an independent singular discipline. There are a couple of policies that I thought I would highlight here that talk about UNM's Category 3 research centers and Category 1 and 2 research centers, which are more locally run. But if you're interested in learning more about those policies, I've got them hyperlinked here, and we'll be sharing slides after this. Just to give an overview of what the Office of the Vice President for Research currently has listed as the Category 3 research centers and institutes, I have the 11 that are listed here, and they all are quite diverse in the way that they're structured and the things that they do and their missions. And so today you're going to be hearing from the ones that are highlighted in green here. And just so that you know, we do have representation in this meeting from SHRI, the Southwest Hispanic Research Institute, and BEBR, the Bureau of Business and Economic Research as well. So if you have questions about those centers as well, please feel free to ask and put them into the chat. And with that, I am going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to hand it over to Maya to talk about the Center for High Technology Materials. Maya?
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All of it? Oh, okay, cool. So hello, everybody. I'm Maya Narayanputty. I am a research professor and the UNM Nanofab Manager at CHTM, which is Center of High Technology Materials. I'll give a brief overview into our capabilities. I apologize because it's 7 minutes. It's incredibly condensed. So please stop me if you have questions, or please note it down so you can ask me in the end. So the Center of High Technology Materials basically is at the South Campus of UNM. We are next to the pit. And it was established in 1983 by a $10 million investment by the state of New Mexico. The idea was to start 5 centers of excellence. The building itself took about a few years to start off, and it is about 62,000 square feet. So just to give an overview of what is the revenue we represent, basically until now, we have had $260 million grants in awards. We have 268 plus patents, which basically create up to $90 million of revenue for UNM. And all of this we come about because we have 14 faculty members, both tenure and tenure track members. So there are assistant professors and tenure professors. It is an interdisciplinary center. It's not a department, so we directly report to the OVPR. So we represent 5 different departments right now. They are looking for 2 other PIs to join our department. Mainly the students we have are master's and PhD students. I myself graduated with my master's and PhD from CHTM. So I'm representing the director right now, with whom I took class. So he's trusting me on this. And of course, we have postdocs. Our staff is very small. We are 12 staff members, administrative, finance, and facilities. I will talk a bit more about my staff in the later slide. So I'll just keep going with what CHTM represents. This is something on our website, so I'm going to go through quickly. Our core capabilities come under 3 different research areas. One is fundamental material research. The other is quantum science and technology, which is in vogue right now, but we've been working on it for 40 years. And we also work on electronics, photonics, and other devices. And so this is also in the website. Basically, how we represent our facilities comes under 3 different categories. We say it's end-to-end integration. So we start with modeling devices and materials and other fundamental research. Then we go into materials, that is both production of the materials, where we call as crystal growth, and characterization of materials. And finally, we come into manufacturing, where the UNM Nanofab and the clean room comes into play. So we basically make these small chips, as in the CHIPS Act. That's where the CHIPS Act comes from. So we basically fabricate semiconductor devices. So these are basically the core of the CHTM. They are the most expensive equipment in the CHTM building. Vico Gen 10 is our main MBE, which is the flagship MBE. Most of the samples that I used for my dissertation was grown on Vico Gen 10 because it's automated. So these are the 4 machines, or actually we have 5 MBEs, so 6 machines that basically do crystal growth. And so we also do, so basically the crystal growth consists of 3-5 materials and 2-6 materials, which means the 3 and the 5 categories of the periodic table. And basically at this point, we grow at atomic length. So we have reached the maximum length that 3D can give us. And hence the next set of materials that we work on are 2D materials, for example, graphene. So basically we remove a dimension. We also do characterization of all these materials that we grow. We also do characterization of the devices we grow. So one of the directors told me that he didn't like the name Center of High Technology Materials because he said it meant nothing, but they needed to have a name for the legislatures to understand. So they went with CHTM. But the idea was to go beyond silicon, because silicon was the industry standard, and it still is industry standard. But with silicon, we basically get the characteristics of one element, whereas we want to do research into especially optical devices, which need combinations of many elements, as I stated. So once we do crystal growth in these MDEs and MOCVD, we then make these chips, that is the devices. And hence then we go into the manufacturing end of CHDM. And so this basically is a slide with a lot of data on it. So the manufacturing basically is concentrated at the UNM NanoFab clean room. It is integrated into the building. And the clean room itself is a class 1000, class 100 clean room, which basically means 1000 particles per ppm and 100 particles ppm. And so we control the particle count and the temperature and humidity. Humidity is not a problem here in Albuquerque. We also check airflow, so the pressure. And this is constantly monitored and maintained. My staff consists of 4 members, including me. We have 3 undergraduate interns and one high school intern right now. Inside the clean room, we have 41 pieces of tools that are listed here. We then go into post-fabrication where the chips are mounted on PCB boards and measured. And that is done by these 5 tools that we are here. The Setna flip chip bonder and the Ontos plasma etcher was funded by the jury project by DoD. Then once the devices are made, then we do characterization, and this comes under the service center. Both the UNM NanoFab and the service center are all user facilities, but we do charge for the usage of these tools. For the clean room, to access all the 41 tools and everything listed here, it is $66 per hour with a $600 cap for internal UNM users. And for industry users, it is $88 per hour with no cap. And then finally, we have some new tools. These are the most expensive tools right now in the clean room, and they were acquired by the NSF MRI grant that we got in 2023, which are the Wraith EBL tool, which can do lithography in basically in the sizes of 7 nanometers. So that's how small it can go. A nanometer is smaller than a single thread of hair. So you can think how small these devices are. And then along with that, we also got the Wraith Pioneer SEM. So we bought it as a group. And I think the grant was about $2 million. Finally, I have to give my thanks to FRDO and to the OVPR for giving us the grants for the PERC. And so they have invested about $100K in our clean room by giving us the grant in 2023 to buy a KLA stylus profiler, and in 2024 to buy a microscope. The reason why we needed the microscope is because we hold one class in the clean room, which is ECE 574 class, and they had ruined our microscope and we needed it. The other thing is that we always solicit donations because our clean room itself is about 40 years old, and there are many equipments in there that is 40 years old. So we are always looking for investments. So basically, this is my condensed version of UNM NanoFab. For more details, please contact me directly. I also give tours for CHDM and for the UNM NanoFab and Clean Room. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maya. Does anyone have questions for Maya? All right. If you think of questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll also share a link to the contact information for the centers in case you think of something later. But with that, we're going to switch gears and go to Robert Radigan to share with us about the geospatial and population studies. And I think, Maya, you have to stop sharing your screen. This way.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Maya. Just bear with me a second while I share my pretty simple slides. This is nothing more than a 2-pager, the origins of which I'm unsure about, but it's evolved over the years, so I just turned it into a slide here for us today. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining. Robert Radigan. I'm the Director of Geospatial and Population Studies. We, like everybody presenting today, are a level 3 research center. I think we're relatively small in terms of budget compared to some of the other level 3 centers. We work with about $1.4 million in annual revenue funded primarily by recurring agreements with New Mexico state agencies. I've been the director since 2020. We have about 11 FTE and anywhere between 10 and 15 student employees at any given time. We have been a level 3 center since 2011 or 2012. Our demographic research unit was a spinoff from the Bureau of Business and Economic Research. So a lot of this, the research in our demographic research unit has been going on here at UNM for many decades. And we also have our other core unit is the Traffic Safety Research Unit, which was a spinoff from a now defunct department at UNM, the Division of Government Research, which I believe at that time had nothing else. The only work they were doing was what we now do in our Traffic Safety Research Unit. So I'll talk about those two units now. The Demographic Research Unit, we serve as the New Mexico State Demographer's Office and New Mexico's liaison to the U.S. Census Bureau. The funding for that comes through a research and public service project, which is an appropriation from the New Mexico State Legislature. We do share that RPSP with Bieber, who receives a portion of that for some the work they do as the New Mexico State Data Center. And the primary deliverable that we achieve with that funding is the production of annual population estimates and population projections. So the Census Bureau produces population estimates every year in between the decennial censuses. And one of the core things we're trying to do is make sure that those figures are accurate. There's billions and billions of dollars that flow to states that are based on those population estimates. So by us producing independent population estimates, we're able to assess the validity and challenge those estimates from the U.S. Census Bureau. So there can be, and has been in some years, an incredible return on investment when we've caught errors in the Census Bureau's population estimates, got those successfully adjusted, and gotten our fair share of the federal budget here in New Mexico. We do also play a central role in New Mexico's decennial operations, which, believe it or not, are actually gearing up right now. And so the program on the horizon now is the Local Update of Census Addresses program, which we led New Mexico's effort in that in 2018. We expect to do the same in 2028. And that is preparing the address list in advance of the 2030 census. So if a housing unit is not on the Census Bureau's address list, then that housing unit will not receive an invitation to respond to the census. So it's the first core operation of the decennial census, and one we take very seriously. I also served on the Complete Count Commission that the state had in 2020, and that's the outreach campaign. That's outside my wheelhouse of expertise. They had all kinds of folks who do the outreach. I was just provided the operational expertise. We also have a recurring partnership with the New Mexico Department of Health. So we provide them with detailed small area population estimates. Those are critical for their epidemiological denominators, and those figures don't come from the Census Bureau. Well, the Census Bureau doesn't provide them in exactly the form that they need, and so we're just modifying the data a bit and to suit their needs. And we've had several previous partnerships with other New Mexico state agencies, the Department of Finance, Tax and Rev, Public Schools Facility Authority. They're looking to project school enrollment figures for their various school districts, and we've partnered with them in the past. That's our demographic research unit. We also have our traffic safety unit. I have less to say about that for a few different reasons, even though that is actually a much larger operating budget. And that's largely because the work that we do for the Department of Transportation is very prescriptive. They don't really, we provide them with descriptive statistics on all the crashes that happened in the state of New Mexico, with, reports on fatalities and DWI and pedestrians and bicyclists. And they really just want us to stay in that lane. We do have some research ideas, and we've made some proposals in the past, and we're not, we haven't given up any hope on that, but it's pretty prescriptive. And so in terms of the partnerships that we pursue within the UNM community, and North Campus, and the partnerships that we're looking to expand into mainly have to do with our demographic research unit. And this is the second page. This is just demonstrating some of the partnerships we've done with North Campus in recent years. So one was with the UNM's Prevention Research Center, and we did some research funded by HRSA that analyzed broadband access for children 0 to 4, and then a second study of children 5 to 17. So we're just overlaying broadband coverage data from the Federal Communications Commissions with that small area population data that we produce and identifying cohort-specific broadband coverage, which is it sounds pretty simple, but nobody's really doing anything like that. And while we're applying this to age groups, this research can be replicated for any cohort of interest. So we've worked with UNM's Department of Internal Medicine on chronic renal insufficiency study where they needed geolocation services. They needed to know where certain addresses were located or what businesses were what were some adjacent types of services that were located next to folks or next to the people in their homes or other types of business, and just doing some spatial analysis, and we do all kinds of work like that. So I think I'm coming up on my time. I won't talk about the UNM grant challenges, but I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Robert about GPS?
I have one quick question. Oh, sorry, I'm over here. My question is, have you worked at all with the Bureau of Vital Statistics that's part of the state government?
We have worked with them, but we've worked with them as far as just we need their data. We need the vital records data every year. That's a key input in our population estimates. It's a pretty simple accounting formula. You take the current population, add the births, subtract the deaths, and then account for migration. The birth and death piece, if we can get that data in a timely manner from the Vital Records Division, that piece is pretty simple. It's the migration component that's tricky for us to do. So we've we received their data, but we have not done any research on their behalf. And I should add, one of the key things, I think one of the values that we bring to the research community here is the collection of New Mexico specific proprietary data sets that we have access to. So those vital records, address data from the New Mexico Secretary of State, the motor vehicle driver's license file, the address list that the Department of Health uses for their epidemiological studies, the 911 location structure database. Some of these data sets are publicly available, others are not. Some of them have restricted uses. We have access to these, and there's all sorts of novel research we could do if we had the capacity and we had more faculty partners. So we currently don't have any affiliate faculty. We have in the past. And the research that we do on an annual basis is applied research. We're putting out reports and descriptive statistics, and some of our deliverables are nothing more than a database that doesn't have any write-up affiliated with it. And we're just looking to perhaps have some affiliate faculty who we can work with on peer-reviewed research projects.
All right, thank you so much. If others have questions about GPS or CHTM, please continue to go ahead and put those into the chat. And I'm going to pass it on now to Bob Ledoux, the director of the Quantum New Mexico Institute. Bob?
Okay. I tried sharing. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, I put in, is it in presentation mode now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share with you some thoughts about the Quantum New Mexico Institute. I'm Bob Ledoux, I'm the director. Actually, my main aim here is to get you interested in the Quantum New Mexico Institute. So we are the newest, I think the newest institute. We were only formed in 2024, Hannah, I think we're the youngest. However, it is based on a very long, I know this is an eye chart, but I just want to point out, QNMI is subsuming all of the long history of QISE in New Mexico. The UNM, it should be pointed out, actually defined in many respects QISE, and it was in the business of doing quantum research all the way back to 1992. It was stood up by Professor Carl Caves, and shortly thereafter, Professor Ivan Deutsch. And basically, these were some of the first findings and research in quantum information and engineering in the country. And so that has grown throughout the years. You can see, I'm going to talk about our collaborators at Sandia and Los Alamos. And actually, inside now of QNMI is a Category 2 institute called CQUIC, which is basically a Class 2 institute that is really doing theoretical work in quantum information sharing. So all that's part of QNMI right now, but there's many other experimental groups and so on. So I'm not going to spend time trying to explain all that to you because I'm going to encourage you to come see us. But that's our history right now. But the mission has expanded beyond just R&D. And one of the core tenets of QNMI is really to do outreach both to educational community as well as to the commercial community. So the three pillars of QNMI are basically this foundational research and development with our partners, Los Alamos and Sandia. And officially inside of QNMI is official partnership with both Sandia and Los Alamos National Labs. So again, kind of a first there where we're directly partnered with the labs. The other legs of our mandate is to really grow the educational and workforce in quantum technologies here in New Mexico. And we do this in conjunction with the other educational institutions in the state, the labs, and actually a regional Elevate Quantum, which is funded by both the federal and state government. So we're really focused on education, K through 12, through graduate school, through technician training. The other leg is to grow that translational capability, take all this fantastic quantum research out of the labs, out of UNM, and bring it into the commercial sector. And we're doing this directly with state support from the Economic Development Authority, from Albuquerque directly, and so on. And recently, that money has stood up the Roadrunner Quantum Lab right here in downtown. And that is a $25 million facility that's bringing together QNMI. It's bringing together companies that are actually going to do research and development in that lab and also provide a vehicle for venture funding and venture activities for this whole new ecosystem that is developing. So it's exciting times in quantum. QNMI is at the center of it. It's growing, and it's relying on all the fantastic capabilities we already have here at UNM and beyond. Now, you may say, should I be interested in this? Well, I'd like to convince you might want to be interested in this because we view this as the second quantum revolution, and it could be an unbelievable growth, strategic growth for our country and an economic growth. So what's different about this than what we've done in the past? And I just want to say a few words about it. This new second revolution in quantum technologies really relies on channeling and harnessing the fundamental properties of quantum mechanics. And just to give you an analogy of why it's different, potentially, is that you often hear about qubits, a unit of computation in quantum computing. It's basically just in a quantum system, often portrayed as just an electron, say, a spin system that you might think can only give you information of up and down. However, at the atomic level, basically, these can be in superposition, whereas the quantum state is neither spin up or down, but actually it can be in a superposition. And the amount of information in that superposition is not just a 1 or a 0, but actually all the information on the surface of a unit sphere. So it's much more information intrinsically. But qubits can also be entangled. And this is a non-classical correlation. And the combination of these two properties, superposition and entanglement, leads us to a completely new frontier in computation, which leverages and exploits these quantum things, particularly for simulating quantum systems. For a quantum measurement, a sensor, you can go beyond the classical noise limit by using these properties in very special ways. And then in communication, you can make secure communication such that you can guarantee whether you've been spoofed or not. So that's sort of what's underneath the hood. But what we really want to work with you on, and what we're so excited about this field, is that we have so many capabilities. I explained some of them at UNM. Maya did a beautiful exposition of the Center of High Temperature, High Technology Materials here. And all the labs not only have actually a much larger staff, both Lano and Sandia, on quantum information, but they also have tremendous resources. They have mesas, and these are all, foundries and so on that can be used to make quantum materials. But for you, what's most interesting, I think, for all of you, is that it's a great source of education. Some of our students love to go work at the labs. The staffers, they love to work with the faculty here and the students. So it's a really unique thing we're doing by partnering directly with the laboratories, and I'd love to speak to you about that sometime. But it's a long-standing tradition that we're basically also formalizing inside of QNMI. And so I don't know what you work on, but I would say that quantum information sciences and engineering is infiltrating because of its potential power through every industry. I come from the energy sector, where it's being used for everything now, for, from optimizing systems to chemistry, materials. Pharma is totally interesting in making the next drugs, et cetera. So there's a lot there. It may look like, wow, I'm not sure that it's relevant to me, but we'd love to talk to you about it. You can contact me directly. That's my information. We'd love to see if we can work together, or just hear what you're doing. So thank you for the time, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much, Bob. Does anyone have any questions for Bob about QNMI or their work? All right, well, think on it. If you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or write them down for our discussion toward the end. And with that, we are going to move to a presentation from Ann Kinsinger. And she is the new director for Accelerating Resilience Innovations in Drylands Institute. And both Anne and Bob have been in their roles for just a few months now, if that. And so, are you seeing these slides okay? Or are they in presenter view properly?
Yes, they look good, at least from my perspective. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Good. Well, again, I'm Ann Kinsinger, and I am the new director of the ARID Institute, and I have been here for just about 4 weeks. So as you can imagine, I know everything that's going on down to the smallest level of detail. Ask me anything. I've been on the job, like I say, for about a month, and I'm learning a lot just even through these presentations, but so much about this wonderful institution of UNM. It's just really amazing to be here. So in brief, ARID focuses on the ability to respond to environmental change by providing information and tools to meet the needs of managers and policymakers and communities. So we're very focused on our partners. Next slide, please. But before I go into any details on ARID, I did want to set a larger, almost global context for you about why we do the work we do. I don't think there's a better time to have ARID rising to the forefront right now. Fires are burning larger and hotter. They're degrading lands and waters. We're experiencing some of these this past summer, heat waves that are affecting human health, but also ecosystems, dust storms that are increasing in frequency that have human health implications, but also we're losing our precious topsoil. Desertification and drought are really worldwide problems. Next slide, please. And from an environmental perspective, a lot of the drylands in the US are critical biodiversity hotspots because we have such unique species that live in these areas. Next slide, please. So in the global context, drylands are absolutely critical. They're 40% of the Earth's land area. They house 35% of the human population. They produce a majority of the food we consume, which you may find surprising. And they regulate really important global cycles like the carbon cycle. So drylands store about 40% of global soil carbon, and the processes that release that carbon back into the atmosphere, of course, are directly related to climate warming. Slide 5, please. So that brings us to why ARID is so important at this moment in time. And so our basic mission is to enhance the resilience of communities, ecosystems, and the economy, the resilience to climate change and other extreme events through inclusive and equitable research, education, and collaborative partnerships. Next slide, please. So since I come here, we've been really trying to think about what we do in terms of identifying really urgent needs and gaps. There are a lot of people who work in related fields related to ARID. So what is our unique role? And I think it is to not only fill those gaps, but to produce research products and tools that really provide our partners with specific ways to make science-based decisions. And I think ARID is really unique. This is very similar to what Bob said about quantum in his field. We're unique in the sense that we have this remarkable array of expertise here at UNM to bring to the table on really complex problems. So not only what you might initially think of ecology and biology and hydrology, all the ologies, but engineering, health sciences, economics, policy analysis. So we can really bring this full suite of capability to bear on very complex problems. Next slide, please. And in terms of the outcomes we can produce with science-based decision-making, it's big. It's preparing communities for extreme events. It's supporting New Mexico's economy, including agriculture and rangelands. It's meeting rural and tribal needs. It's improving public health, fostering technological innovation, improving the effectiveness of management actions, and of course, educating the next generation of science leaders. Next slide, please. And similar to Bob's presentation, we do have sort of 4 basic pillars that we work in, and we're really interested in the intersections in that Venn diagram you see, but we're looking at sustainable water, healthy ecosystems and biodiversity, community health and vitality, and then in terms of infrastructure, development of new materials, engineering, biological solutions, and those sorts of things. And this graphic on the right, it's really just a way to show that we're doing this all through a framework of policy, of community needs, and as I mentioned, economic vitality. Slide 9, please. So like Quantum and some of these other centers, we have a large array of partners and projects. We like to see ourselves as sort of a hub for this transdisciplinary research, for these connections. What you see here on this slide is 10 existing campuses, centers on UNM campus, 2 nonprofits, several federal initiatives, state initiatives, tribal and community partners, just a wide array of folks who we really try to be the hub of this transdisciplinary research. Next slide, please. I won't read through this, but we've had a lot of recent successes and a lot of upcoming activities. One thing I did want to highlight, which I think is pretty cool, is that the American Geophysical Union has just contracted with us to develop a short film to show at their New Orleans meeting this year about ARID and what we do and how we reach partners and communities. And we'll be able to keep the rights to that film. And we were thinking even of connecting with the film school to develop some derivative products to highlight ARID. Next slide, please. Again, lots of upcoming events. I guess I got a slide ahead of myself. I apologize. But down at the bottom there, you see the TV film that we're producing. You see a whole lot of workshops and capacity building that we're doing. And I'm not going to read all those to you, but you can see them. And I think you'll have access to these slides if I'm not mistaken. And next slide, please. So in terms of long-term goals, obviously to contribute to climate resilience in New Mexico and more broadly through our applied research, to really grow a climate-ready workforce in New Mexico by being very inclusive and equitable in how we educate and train a next generation. We want to support students and faculty in pursuing this transdisciplinary research and studies. So that's both on the ground and in how we develop curricula for campus. And then, of course, really start to grow the program. We are one of the smaller centers, I think, grow our program with funding successes and really start pursuing large regional grants related to climate resilience. And the last slide. In the short term, what I'm thinking about is that we probably need to develop and implement a arid resilient science strategy with our partners. Again, getting back to working with them up front to identify those critical gaps and needs. Keep increasing our opportunities to build these transdisciplinary skills in students so they really can speak conversantly, whether they're in the hard sciences or an economist, they can really speak to the full complexity of these issues. Growing our partner support, and then really honing the message and raising the visibility and stature of ARID in that larger national and global community. So that's kind of where we are now. I thank you so much for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Oh, that's our bright and shiny faces on our team there.
Thank you so much, Anne. Does anyone have any questions for Anne about ARID? And am I still sharing my screen?
No,
Okay, great.
thank you for doing that for me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right. Well, next up, we have Angelica Benavides, who's going to share with us about the Center for Microengineered Materials, or CMEM. You're getting a lot of UNM acronyms down today, I hope.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Angelica Benavides. I am the Associate Director here at CMEM. I am also a research professor, and I'm filling in for our director, Fernando Garzon, who's out at a conference this week. So I'll start by giving a little bit of background information about CMEM. We are the focal point at UNM for material science research and education. And our aim is to invent, advance, and patent technologies based on nanoscience and microengineered materials. We also put a big emphasis on mentoring our junior faculty from our senior faculty to provide mentorship to them. And I won't read all of these off, but I'll go to the next slide. So here's a list of some of the collaborations that we've had in the recent past and some that are active now. So we work closely with a lot of departments in the School of Engineering, also in the arts and sciences, such as earth and planetary sciences and chemistry. We also have collaborations with people over at North Campus at UNM, such as pharmaceutical science, the Kidney Institute, and the Cancer Center. We have collaborations with CHTM and both of the national labs in New Mexico. We also have joint projects with Air Force Research Lab and New Mexico Tech. We've worked with the VA Healthcare. And we also have some industry partners such as SensorCom, Oxyon Energy, Pajarito Powder, Hydrosonics Energy. SensorCom and Pajarito Powder have both come out of patents developed at CHTM. And we also have several R&D 100 awards from people that work here at CMEM.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm not
No,
seeing your
that's-
slides. I'm not sure if it's me or if they're not being
I
shared.
didn't see them, and I didn't see actually Ann's either. And I just left Zoom and came back in. I
Anne's,
don't-
but I'm not seeing Angelica.
Okay. Anything? We tested it before we started. No, it's not working.
And you're doing great anyway.
It would be great if everyone could see what I'm talking about.
And if you want to email them to me, I could share my screen if you'd like them.
Let's see this.
There they are.
Okay, can everyone see them now?
I can
Yes.
see him, yeah.
Okay, maybe, is it okay if I don't put it in presentation mode? I think that's where something went wrong last time.
I can see them well.
I'm okay, okay. Okay, so we have a diverse areas of research here at CMEM, including fuel cell development and testing, developing catalysts and batteries. Here are a few illustrations of some of the projects that we've had. One for energy agility for space vehicles, in which we used rocket fuel that is already on board space vehicles to power solid oxide fuel cells that could provide on-demand energy for space vehicles. We have developed UV exposure sensors, which has resulted in a startup company for wearable UV sensors on the human body. We also partner with the tribal communities in New Mexico to do contamination detection in water for metals such as arsenic, chromium, and uranium. We have developed some gas sensors that have been additively manufactured here, and these gas sensors can work as cart exhaust gas sensors and also as in the field methane detectors. Some of the other work that we've had with North Campus is detecting microplastics in living tissue and also detecting metal accumulation in living tissue. So to go to our actual facilities, CMEM is located on South Campus. We are close to CHTM, and we are across the street from the Isotopes baseball field. Our space here is about 45,000 square feet, and we share half of our building with Sandia. Here at the AML, we have faculty, staff, and student offices. We have a classroom. We have a teaching laboratory. We have several different laboratories that include electrochemistry, material synthesis. We do battery testing. We have several high temperature furnaces. And we also have a lot of instrumental facilities, which I will go into now. So we have several user facilities here at CMEM. So these are instruments that everyone can use. We do charge some user fees, so that helps keep up the equipment. We have an SEM with EDS. So here this shows some nanoparticles with some EDS mapping, where the different elements are color-coded. The resolution for this instrument is 0.7 nanometers. And we also have low vacuum mode on this SEM. So you can put in wet samples, biological samples, and also polymers. One of our other highly used instruments is an XPS. This is the only XPS user equipment in the state of New Mexico. We have other materials characterization equipment available for use. Here are some of the details for these. One of the unique things about our user facilities is they are all maintained by faculty who have expertise in the field and are available to help at any time. So if you'd like any more information about CMEM or any of our user facilities here, you can contact me directly. You can visit our website. We have a list of all our user facilities available and our user rates, and I'd be glad to give anybody a tour who wants to know more.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions for Angelica about CMEM? All right. Again, please write them in the chat if any come to mind. And if not now, then we're going to go ahead and move on. We have two more presenters. And Matthew Frick is going to be presenting for the Center for Advanced Research Computing, or CARC. And then he'll be followed by Casa.
Thank you. I believe our director, Patrick, was going to say a few words first. Patrick, are you there?
He messaged, and I think he had to step out.
Ah, okay. All right. Then I will just dive into it. Let me share my screen. It's always the hardest part is actually sharing what's going on. All right. So hopefully you can see my slide.
Yes.
Great. Well, thanks for letting me talk about my favorite subject, which is CARC, the Center for Advanced Research Computing. So CARC's basic mission is to provide supercomputing resources to the entire UNM research community. That means hardware, that means large machines that can do things that a person's desktop can't. But it also means providing a lot of expertise on how to actually scale up software, how to take advantage of the hardware that we provide. So we have a team that deploys and runs these large machines in a machine room that has the appropriate cooling and power, et cetera. That's a full-time job for a couple of staff members. And then we have lots of researcher support. That's my emphasis. So we can educate people. Most of our users coming to the supercomputing systems have never used a supercomputer before. And so we facilitate that transition to larger machines. Just wanted to mention very quickly that UNM and CARC has a long and deep connection to supercomputing in general. So Jack Dongara and Cleve Moeller, founder of MATLAB, they really revolutionized high-performance computing by writing software packages that could do linear algebra and other scientific computing on the large scale. So that was in 1996, and I just really like showing the New Mexico license plates and the team from way back then. So we have a long history and a lot of experience with doing these things. The green area here is really the growth of modern computing on Linux systems. And the yellow arrow I put there is where UNM and CARC in particular demonstrated the feasibility of those particular systems. And I'm not saying it was CARC, but we were there at the very start. And it's really great that we are still providing cutting edge research facilities now. All right, so here's a very crowded slide. But basically, large-scale computing is becoming more and more essential to all areas of research. Our bread and butter and the long-standing communities tend to be physics and chemistry, but more and more it's biology, social sciences, especially with machine learning and artificial intelligence becoming really important. And you really have to run those on supercomputers. So our systems, we've got 7,000 plus CPU cores, 100 or more than 100 GPUs dedicated for artificial intelligence, quantum chemistry, quantum computing applications, for example. And we have 2 petabytes of fast storage because supercomputing often generates large amounts of data. And that's one of the things that our users come to us for, is being able to store massive amounts of data that they want to process. The majority of these resources are free to main campus users. So most of what you're seeing here, you can just log in tomorrow and begin using. We also allow, though, for research labs or other groups to purchase hardware so that they have dedicated access, or if they have special needs for hardware, we're very happy to facilitate that. As I mentioned before, we have a dedicated machine room that runs all these systems and the trained staff to keep them secure, operational, so they have high availability. So I keep showing these various application domains. So we have a huge breadth of people using our systems and research projects, from gene sequencing to quantum chemistry, computational fluid dynamics, climate modeling, astronomy. The list is really endless. And the impact we've had on research production, this is a self-reported proxy measure. I'm sure it's way underreported. This is just me scraping who actually acknowledged CARC in their publications. And over the last 10 years, we've seen a doubling of research output in terms of publications, which I think goes to show just how increasingly important high-performance computing, supercomputing is to getting publications out there. but also to the growth of CARSI itself and the services we provide. We have more than 100 PIs who are using CARSI services. I just want to dive in on 3 of them. It was hard to pick, but these are 3 that sort of demonstrate the kinds of work that we facilitate. Hua Guo has been running on CARSI for the last 20 years. Does computational chemistry, very core supercomputing kinds of work. And just as a really hard to believe metric, if he had had to do the computations he's done at CARSI on a laptop computer, he would have to run that laptop computer for 7,000 years. That's 7,000 years, not 7,000 hours, that's 7,000 years. That's how much computation he's run and why he's got 30,000 citations, et cetera, from all the publications that he's produced. Jeremy Hoogveen is representative of a new wave of researchers. He is a cognitive neuroscientist, and he wrote some Python code that ran on his laptop, and he was able to process one of these fMRI data sets from a single person in about a day, and that's great. But now he wants to write a paper where he needs to process 300 subjects, and he's looking at a year of computation. That's going to be really difficult for him. So he came to CARSI, and we gave him 300 times the resources that he had on his laptop, and now he's back to running his whole data set in a day again. And that's really the use case we see most often. And it's great to be able to see something like that where we can just perfectly scale up someone's work and get them really processing large data sets. Darryl Doman is really interesting because during the pandemic, he was responsible for sequencing new COVID variants that were cropping up for 4 states, including New Mexico. And he did all of the processing to analyze those genomes, to understand the family trees of where these genomes were coming from and what the effects were on their virility at CARSI, on CARSI systems. And we, of course, gave him all the resources he needed in order to get that important work done during the pandemic. So this is an idea of the kinds of fields of science that we're supporting. So I mentioned that biology is relatively new, but it's immediately dominating the work we're doing. But second to that is UNM courses. So we support 55 different UNM courses that run on our systems. During any given year, on average, we have 17 of those courses running, which means I'm supporting them. I'm teaching workshops to accelerate those students being able to run immediately on our systems and get their work done. And of course, a lot of those students turn into longtime researchers at UNM, and they also leave with skills, workforce development skills, so they can interact with supercomputing centers from around the world. This is a list of the workshops that I've supported recently. And of course, there's a lot of interest in quantum computing. So quantum computers are amazing things, and they're expensive and hard to get time on. So a lot of quantum computing work is actually done in simulation. And that means you have to run on large classical systems to simulate those quantum systems, to try out algorithms, et cetera, before you get time on a real quantum computer. So I spent some time this summer putting together workshops on how to run things like Qiskit and other pipelines for simulating quantum computing at CARSI. But again, the breadth is really pretty amazing to me, radio astronomy to climate change, et cetera. And we also provide not just domain workshops, but core workforce development workshops and regular courses in HPC. So I'm teaching right now for the 3rd semester, and we developed this in collaboration with the national labs, a regular course that teaches students at UNM how to run HPC systems, how to run supercomputers, and we've already seen them go on to really great careers in that space. We also very recently have started, well, the last, I guess, 2 years now, we've been providing a lot more support for grants. So we meet with PIs to help them figure out the initial phases of the grant proposals, our facilities documents to demonstrate that they have the resources to do what they'd like to do in these grant proposals. We work with vendors to get estimates on quotes for purchasing hardware. And it's still the case that on-premise local supercomputing is much more cost effective than Amazon Cloud or any of those services, though we do educate our users on how to use those when it's appropriate. There are times when it makes sense, but over time, it's much cheaper to use Carson systems, especially when they're provided for free to main campus. So we provide letters of support, and then we acquire, deploy, and manage those systems, so the PIs and their grad students don't have to spend time doing that. This is again self-reported, so it's an underestimate, but our PIs have reported to us that the work they're involved with has resulted in, not resulted in, but is affiliated with $97 million in grants. And you can see the distribution here of NIH money, DOE, that should be DODs, sorry, for the 15 and DOE for the 17 million. But we like to think that we help people get those grants and of course do the work they need to fulfill those grant obligations. We have also started supporting the arts and sciences departments directly. So they have a lot of local research computing needs on workstations and local servers. And so we now have deployed some staff members to go and directly help them in their offices and in their local machine rooms, making sure the systems are secure and not going to get hacked, system setup, maintenance, and collaborating with UNM IT when appropriate for local cloud services, et cetera. And that's been really successful. We're unable to keep up with a number of departments now asking us to come and provide this service. And we've been growing steadily since we started doing this. Our website is the main place to go for more information and to get started if you want to start taking advantage of these resources. And please send me an email at this email address, and I'd be very happy to talk to you and answer whatever questions you don't ask right now, and to tell you more about the center and to get you started running on our systems.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Does anyone have any questions for Matthew about CARSI?
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Our final presentation is from the Center on Alcohol, Substance Use, and Addictions, or CASA. And the presenters are Josh Grubbs and Frank Schwiebel.
All right, thank you guys for having us today. Can everyone see the slides okay?
Yeah.
Excellent. So my name is Dr. Josh Grubbs. I'm an associate professor and an investigator here at the Center on Alcohol, Substance Use, and Addictions. Moving forward, I'll just say CASA because that's a mouthful. And Frank is a research assistant professor at CASA as well, although he's actually been here longer. I joined the faculty here in 2023, and he's been here a little bit longer than me, so he might have a few more things or details to add. To give people a big broad overview, we have been around for approaching 30 years, I believe. We were initially founded in the 1990s by Dr. Bill Miller, among others, to address the problems of addiction, both within the state of New Mexico and beyond. Overall, our vision as a center is to serve as a nexus, a hub for alcohol, substance use, and addiction research by conducting high-quality scientific research with the goal of reducing suffering. At core to that in our mission is the reducing suffering and social costs caused by substance use and other addictive behaviors. I'm actually a gambling and compulsive sexual behavior research, so I always joke that when we talk about addictions, I am the S in addictions. Everybody else here at CASA is doing stuff in the substance use realm, but we do run the gamut of addictive behaviors, not just substance use, but also including things like gambling, compulsive sexual behaviors, and things like that as well. And we are a very active, grant active center. The vast majority of our funding is NIH, although we do have contracts with the state, and a lot of my work is actually foundation funded. I'm not going to go through the specific numbers here, but we do average over 20 million in proposals a year. And as of late, we've actually been getting annual award amounts in increasing numbers. It's been great, actually. We're in a very decent financial space. Despite everything else that is going on in the world right now. Core beyond just the money that we're bringing in are the values that we try to embody as a center. Again, we are very committed to reducing suffering and not just doing science for the sake of science. That there's value in that, but given the nature and the focus of what we do, just doing science for the sake of science is not enough. We need to be providing solutions that actually help people that are suffering in the world. This is just a fundamental tenet, I think, of a lot of the human sciences, so to speak. So we do really focus on trying to innovate novel ways of assessing and treating these addictions and their kind of comorbid concerns. So we've done a lot of clinical trials on treatment adherence, treatment efficacy, what types of treatment work best for who, how do we identify the specific mechanisms of change that are occurring in the treatment process to ensure that more people get access to the stuff that works. Another huge part of this, and Frank will talk a little bit about this as well, I believe, is that we are an education and training center. We have ongoing several year grants from NIH and our T32 fellowships, where we are training the next generation of scholars and clinicians. We train graduate students, we train postdoctoral scholars, as well as early career scientists as well. And we are increasingly working with undergraduates as well, trying to get them started on careers in addiction science. And the other piece is we are very big on collaboration. So as we talk about the distribution of who works here and who is part of the CASA community, we are multidisciplinary. We have members from departments across the university. We also have collaborations with North Campus. There's a lot that we do to try to collaborate within the university and also within the community more broadly. We really are committed to working with the folks in Albuquerque and within New Mexico more broadly to identifying ways to do more impactful research that actually reduces suffering. So I'm going to switch over to our organizational structure and turn it over to Frank.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh. And one quick thing, because I wanted to highlight this came up a couple years ago. We were actually over 35 years now at CASA. I think a long time, well before either one of us was here. And so yeah, this is our organizational chart. I won't go into a ton of details. You don't need to know exactly who's who and everything, but I just think it really highlights our fantastic team. I wanted to point out a few things, and actually some people that aren't even listed here that we've had some support from over the years who are in the room with us right now, like Grace and Tim, who I know have helped out with our IT support needs over the years and grant submissions. So thank you all. And as Josh mentioned, we really put a huge emphasis on training. I started here as a postdoc and have transitioned to faculty, and we have a number of postdocs that we're able to bring in through our T32 and other research mechanisms. And we have pre-docs on a T32 as well, and others that are just affiliated with CASA because they're interested in the work we're doing. And I should also highlight Scott, who I believe, and you can correct me if you want, I know you're on the call, but I believe you started as an undergrad working at CASA and actually were our director for a number of years. So we have a long tradition, I guess, of supporting training and growth within CASA. Can we hop to the next slide, Josh? Thank you. So I think this is our final slide here, but as Josh has mentioned, we're very interested in partnering across the university. We're always looking for kind of expanding our research areas beyond just addiction and kind of incorporating our addictions expertise with other fields as well. So we're always open to collaborations. We have a lot of opportunities for education and training in addiction. Katie, our director, unfortunately wasn't able to be here today. She's traveling, as she often is, very busy schedule. Leads a weekly addiction seminar in the fall and spring semesters every year, as well as a grant writing seminar in the spring semester, which these are open. Scott has actually led that grant writing seminar historically as well, and we often have people from all over campus, and the grant writing is typically focused on NIH research, and that's where most of our expertise lies in, but I'm sure we could try to help support people in other areas as well. So that's something that if you're interested, you can reach out to Katie and she can get you on the emails for those. We also try to engage as much as we can and collaborate with the community. So we have a community listserv where you can hear about research projects we have going on, areas that perhaps we can help support community needs and dealing with addictions a lot of stuff we try to do around addiction treatment as well. We also have a fabulous, I don't know what to call it, a wing, an area of CASA, or program evaluation services, who have been running clinical trials for researchers at UNM and CASA for, I believe, also certainly over 30 years. It may not be over 35 years, but definitely over 30 years, including large nationwide clinical trials that were focused on addiction. But they have expertise in many areas. And if you're interested in working with them, you can email Roberta, and that's her email there on the screen. And I believe that's all we have. Is that right? All right, that's it. So we can take questions if anyone has.
Any questions about CASA? All right, well, then I'll open it up more broadly here to see if anyone has questions for any of the centers that you've thought of, or if you have questions about Category 3 centers and research institutes at UNM more broadly. And you're welcome to unmute and just ask your question or raise your hand, type in the chat. But while folks are thinking, I did get a question in the chat that came to me from someone interested in doing a quick round robin to have each center just quickly say whether you're a service center or a research center or both. And I'll also give, I guess, a fourth option of other. So do you all remember the order in which you presented? Could we start again with Maya? If you could just say the name of your center and which best categorizes, that would be great.
The 22 labs at CHTM belong to the PIs. And so because of that, it is not a service center, but the UNM NanoFab that consists of the clean room and the characterization tools is a service center.
Thank you. Robert?
I believe Geospatial and Population Studies is a research center, but I got to plead ignorance on the distinction here.
I think I'm next. Bob, we're definitely a research center. I would say partially a service center from the educational outreach and the translational outreach. So I think we're both.
Anne? Oh, you're muted.
Yep, sorry about that. Ann Kinzinger with ARID. I'm with Bob and his answer. We're primarily a research center, but as you could tell from my presentation, we spent a lot of time as a service center as well. Thanks.
Angelica? CMEM?
CMEM is a research center, and our user facilities, the analytical equipment that we provide for users, is a service center. So both.
Matthew?
Yeah, so we're both as well. So obviously we provide a lot of services to researchers at UNM, but we also run grants through CARSI to do various kinds of research. So we're both.
Josh and Frank?
Yeah, so CASA is primarily a research center. The majority of what we do is running grants through the center and doing research, but the program evaluation services that Frank mentioned earlier would fall under that service center kind of provision. And we do occasionally engage that aspect of our center with other parts of campus providing services for participant management and things like that in studies.
And I don't want to call you out, but Mo or Mariah, do you want to talk? Do you want to answer the question on behalf of Bieber and Shri?
Yeah, I can answer. Oh, go ahead. You
Go ahead,
first.
Mo. No, go ahead, Mo.
We are both. We do research primarily related to economic issues and topics related to New Mexico, but we also provide service through our data bank, both internally to stakeholders within the university and also community outside of the university that call us up and ask for how do you find census data or those kinds of things.
And Shri is primarily a research center, but a lot of our research faculty do community engaged research and therefore We serve as a service hub, I guess.
Great, thank you. Are there other questions for this group?
I have a general question that can be for anybody, however many people feel like answering it. But I'm curious if you are interested in expanding your outreach, if there are particular like pockets on campus that you wish you had better connections to, whether that's career stage, like you want to engage more grad students or more associate professors, assistant professors, or field specific. However, who are you hoping to work more with?
I'll interject. From QNMI's point of view, we do have an undergraduate research program, but as we want to expand in many other areas that we heard from all our wonderful speakers, like with Cassie, we're reaching out to the Anderson School. We'd like to engage much more. This is a rapidly evolving field, and I think the earlier we can get young people from the R&D end, the business end of it, the medical end, and so on. So I think we're really looking for opportunities for that. We might hopefully put out a competition with the Anderson School, but I think that as many forums, if you know of great forums, we'd love to participate.
Yeah, this is Anne. I think for us, in terms of topical areas, I showed you that slide with the 4 pillars, but I would say that we've got a lot of depth in some of the areas and maybe less in others. And the 2 that come to mind that I'd really like to explore more would be the human health dimension, so human health and the environment, and definitely honing in a little bit more on the infrastructure piece I mentioned and what that would really look like from, engineering and biological standpoints.
It's okay if I go next, I guess. Yeah, so we are always trying to reach people who can benefit from our services, who may not know that they either can benefit from our services or that we exist. So we're always trying to reach new faculty as they're hired, for example, because they're often hired with some startup money and they have some computations that need to be done. And so we'd like to let them know about our how we can facilitate that. But also we're constantly reaching out to freshman students who want a career path in computing. And so we develop these pipelines to send students to the national labs. And so greater depth outside of just computer science would be great. So reaching new students in all departments, but particularly in computational departments like chemistry and physics, et cetera, would be great.
If I can go next, I would like to say the same thing that Matthew did. We would like to reach out more to new faculty and have more students participate. The other thing we also would need are industry partners. We don't have that many. We do workforce development, and we could hold workshops and stuff, which we are not able to because we don't have industry partners. So there is no way for us, other than Intel, there is no way for us to show our students the paths that they can take.
Thank you. Are there others who want to highlight specific pockets of folks on campus that you'd like to reach out more to? I heard you, Robert, also say in your presentation that just engaging with faculty more generally, because you have such a wealth of data and resources that could support research in GPS and related fields.
That's
Is that
correct.
right?
Yeah, I didn't want to repeat myself, so that's why I stayed on mute. But we do. Now that I've heard from others, I mean, we do have a service component, and that is spatial analysis, and that is something that we want folks to be aware of. We're not exclusive at UNM in doing that. The Earth Data Analysis Center is a great resource for that, but we can do all sorts of spatial analysis in partnership with some other research projects that are going on campus.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I can go quickly, and we touched on it a little bit with the grant writing workshop, but folks who are interested in writing NIH grants. We've had a lot of success working with people outside of CASA, and so that would be an area of interest for us.
Yes, just a heads up, I'm going to tell a lot of postdocs at HSC to reach out about joining that. They've been
That'd
asking
be
us for
great.
a lot of help, so we would love. I'm also in the Faculty Research Development Office with Hannah Torres, so we'll point in some to you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right, we have about 5 more minutes left, a little more than 5 minutes left. If there are any other questions that people have for the group about specific centers or about centers in general. I did also put a link in the chat to the UNM research website, and in the top menu, there's a drop down that should link to each of the center and institute websites so that you can go there and continue to learn more and see the names of folks who you can contact if you're interested in engaging or learning more. And so with that, if there are no further questions, oh, Carol.
Thank you. I have a question from the Office of Community Engagement. We would like to have more information about those partnerships also for the future Carnegie reclassification report for UNM as a community engaged university. Is there any way to know those partnerships, for example, with Intel or the labs? Data, like basic data. We don't have to have specifics just to report in that big report that we have to present to the Carnegie Foundation.
Can I just email you a list of our partners and what we've been doing with them?
Yes, please, that would be great. I can email you.
Great.
Thank you so much.
I can also say that we do community engagement, as in we have tours for students of all ages, and we also have people who are just interested, like teachers and stuff, come in and talk to us. We used to have open houses. This was when I was a student. We used to have open houses, but I think COVID kind of put a stop to it. And field trips from schools were there. I think that also stopped. We used to do demonstrations at the New Mexico State Fair. That also stopped. So I'm not sure what was going on the time that I had left, but a lot of community engagement got rolled back during or after COVID. So yes, we would like to restart that, of course. Yeah.
That would be great. And if we can support in any way, please let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. And Carol, if you want to follow up, oh, there. So if people have more information about community engagement that's happening within your centers, Carol just dropped her email in the chat. Any other questions?
Can I ask Carol a question? Carol, we do have summer camps that we support, and we're going to ramp up all our outreach. Can we reach out to you if we want particular connections
Yes,
on
please.
certain communities? Because I think that would be a big help, particularly if we want to canvass the whole state. Like, what's the most efficient way of doing it? Would be great.
Okay.
And we want to draw on a cadre of teachers too, obviously, which we do in the summer to educate on quantum. But if we could coordinate with you, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you so much in anything that we can help, because we've been visiting, for example, about a month ago, we went to Taos, to the UNM Hive in the Taos branch, and then we are trying to reach out to the chancellors, to different parts. So anything that we can help coordinate or develop, redevelop, or help in and support in any of the initiatives, we would be really happy to do so.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And also it's involved for like faculty, staff, and students. It's not necessarily just faculty or staff. It's like a holistic initiative for reinforcing community engagement at UNM.
Great, thank you.
Well, I
Speaking
see we've-
speaking of,
Oh, go ahead.
can I actually put a plug in for something really quickly?
Yeah.
Since we're talking about community engagement and the like, we have annually a data users conference that's coming up next month that we invite normally folks from the US Census Bureau. They come and talk. This year, not as much because of the federal situation. But we have other folks from the state that present social and economic data, how to find it, contacts for accessing that type of data and the like. So I'm going to put in the chat a link to the registration for that event that we have. So there's that as well.
Great. Thank you, Mo. So Hannah Yahalem also just put a quick note in the chat in general. We have a research events calendar where anyone can post research related events if you have it in your Outlook, and you can invite research events at unm.edu just as a place to get more visibility in general. But with that, I just want to thank you all for joining this webinar, and especially I want to thank our speakers. Thank you so much for joining and talking about your research centers. I think this is a really exciting time for the Category 3 research centers and institutes at UNM. We've got a couple of brand new directors. We've got a few director searches underway. Mariah Gomez has just stepped up as the interim director of SHRI. And so there's just a lot of exciting things happening and changes and enthusiasm. And so I would really encourage you to look into what the centers are doing and how you might engage, because they're a fantastic resource doing amazing work at UNM. So thank you again, and I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon and weekend.
Thank you for organizing it, Hannah.
Thank you.
And